All right, so I have a video that briefly showcases the development of our new player races. So here we have the old world Worgen. It was fierce, but it wasn't player character fierce. We updated it for Northrend, but it was mainly just a texture change. So these were great as mobs, but we needed to do something to re-envision them as player characters. So we spent time concepting what we thought the player Worgen should look like. And this was our first playable version. It was a good first pass, but it seemed to be lacking something. So we studied what we had done, identified what we felt like we were just missing on, and we modified it into this, our new final Worgen. So the goblins were much easier. They are so established in the game. We had this really old model to start with, and we had to find a way to breathe new life into it. Here's the new player model. Higher detailed mesh and textures, exaggerated features, a major graphics overhaul, but we retain the core elements that define being Goblin. Notice the variety of facial customization available. They have many dozens of combinations of ears, noses, and chins. Thank you.
So our lead animator, Steve Aguilar, couldn't be with us today, so I'm going to attempt to go through his presentation. This will show you how much I pay attention when we're putting these things together. I should also mention that in Blue's presentation, we don't show the Worgen female because we actually recently put a little more work into it, and it's not at a point where we're ready to show it yet, so that's why it was not in his presentation, in case anyone was wondering. All right, so let's look at animation. So the animation team is responsible for not only animating characters and creatures, but also effects, or some of the effects we do for the game. This was a druid regrowth spell that Slim did. So this little guy we created for the StarCraft II Collector's Edition. And this is a good example of the partnership between animation and effects, where the animators will go through and make them look cool, and the effects guys will go in and make it look alive. This little guy, you're all gonna get. This is Deathwing Murky. This is really cool. This is our archaeology pet. So you notice he's Rochambeauing or rock, paper, scissors. When you run into another player in game that has one of these, you'll actually play off against one another and win or lose. So these are the new dances that we did for the Worgen and Goblins. This is the Tolvir. This is a new race that we created for Cataclysm. They're actually a stone skin Titan creation, but this is one of the skins that we did that's more of a flesh or a live version. This is the Etten. It's a giant creature you're going to run into kind of all over the place, but most prominently in Gilneas. So these are the pygmies. I love these little guys. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of them in subsequent expansions, but we're going to see them all over the Starting Goblin experience. Then we have pufferfish that act like pufferfish. Vashir is an enormous new zone, so we created a lot of aquatic sea creatures to fill up the area, like turtles. And I think that's it. So thanks, Steve. Thanks, animation team. On the dungeon.
That one, yes.
So I wanted to show you a little behind-the-scenes look at how we create dungeons in our game, World of Warcraft. So let's start off with a screenshot from one of our newer dungeons, Old Doom. So if you were to take away the props, the lighting, the effects, the textures, and then you start to dumb down the shapes. Basically what you have left to look at is, well, not that interesting. So how we get from that to this, to the final product, is a process of concepts, ideas, brainstorming, design layouts, and probably most importantly, the imagination of the creators, our teams. So you can start to break down the elements. Maybe. There we go. You can start to break down the elements, and each piece combines to make a cohesive imaginative part of the world. I think the funnest part for us is when we get to start brainstorming, taking the layout, and then come up with the ideas like these. As the 2D layout is created, it's the dungeon's responsibility to interpret what the frame is going to look like. I emphasize how transitory our dungeons can be. The end result is by far much more spectacular than what we first came up with, and that's saying something from those concepts. It's a little before and after shots, just the block out, and then the final version. So the dungeon team gathers reference from many resources. I'm having a hard time here. There we go. We take our research very seriously, and we like to study to make sure the colors work, get the right set of textures and materials. So easy, just go down to the old Home Depot. As well as making sure the structure fits with the culture kit. We also have to make sure that the scale is correct. so that every character, whether you're a gnome, a human, a blood elf, got to make sure that they fit through the door as well as be able to navigate the play space in the dungeon. We also like to draw what inspires us. Spikes. And we like to give each other feedback, usually very maturely. Take it well. I think one of the challenges we faced when we started working on Skywall, again, one of the new dungeons in Cataclysm, was how to make the buildings look like they floated and were emerging from the clouds. This idea created an effect that was made specifically for Skywall Dungeon. Here's some of the concepts. So awesome. So although it may look strange in the 3D program, the effect in the game gave us the look we were trying to go for. Our modeler went back and forth with the programmers to get just the right look, and a lot of trial and error. But I think they were pretty successful. The destructive force of Cataclysm gave us an opportunity to remodel 2 of our main cities, Orgrimmar and Stormwind. So we donned on our hard hats and went to work recreating Orgrimmar. Here's just a couple of before and after shots. You'll notice we kept the spikes in, probably added more to it, I'd say, by 120%. It's a little better. So as a dungeon lead, I like to encourage my guys to really involve themselves in the dungeon creation process, and hopefully that comes across when you play our dungeons. That's it. Thank you.